Come back, get in touch with us via our social media handles. Now let's settle for the details this afternoon. The Ghana Police Service has yet again sent signals that it will not hesitate to use brute force to manage chaotic situations that may arise during the 2024 general elections. The police assurance was given by the Inspector General Dr. Akufo Dampare during a meeting with leadership of various political parties and representatives of all independent presidential candidates going into the elections. The meeting is currently happening at the police headquarters here in Accra, where the political parties have also been giving their commitment to peace and other concerns. My colleague James Abeye is live at the police headquarters where this engagement is ongoing and joins me for the very latest on this developing story. Now, James, the meeting started this morning. That was open to the media. Tell us how it happened.
Elton, if you can hear me, that second half of the meeting has just ended. The first half ended about 12 noon, where the engagement between the political parties, their representatives, as well as those of the independent candidates, happened between them, as well as the Election Security Task Force, together in the presence of the media. Quite a number of issues have been coming up. You know, in the last 2 days, there's been allegations and counter-allegations from the two major political parties, the NDC and the NPP, on some allegations of plans to distort the peace of the election. And so that was a major issue raised, especially by the NPP, when the General Secretary, Justin Kodua, had the opportunity to address the police. In fact, the police kicked off by giving the political parties a platform to give them a message as well as their general concerns going into the elections and the committal to peace ahead of the election. Justin Kodua pointed out the fact that some elements or persons are plotting to disrupt the election, especially in their strongholds in the Ashanti region. Re-emphasized that point that the organizer made yesterday, and asking the police to tell them how they are going to deal with some of these things going into the election. He also raised other concerns about the use of motorbikes during the elections. He made a point that in the past we've seen and heard incidents of some persons using motorbikes to snatch ballot boxes as well as cause chaos at some polling stations. He wants a decisive direction from the police on what the way forward is as we prepare towards the elections. And the fact that even we, the media, need to be a bit more vigilant these days in this crucial period leading to the elections to keep up our gatekeeping role against misinformation and disinformation going into the election. So those are the key things he raised. Also, he didn't shy away from registering the party's displeasure about what happened in Assin North, where he said that there was some chaos and disruption in some polling stations of areas they consider as their strongholds in Assin North during the by-election. The NPP has not been happy with that, and so they want to raise that to the police to exercise fairness in their line of duty, especially in this general election. Now, when the director of election for the NDC, Dr. Manibuama, took his turn, you know that Samit told us on Tuesday that they will be petitioning the police as well as other agencies on this information they had about plans to rig the election. We were looking forward to him also raising the concern, but he declined comment on that. He indicated that he raised that when they got into a closed meeting with the police, and so decided to only appeal to the police to exercise and maintain their professionalism and balance in the elections. And that issue about balance was supported by the smaller political parties, who think that there must not be any kind of favoritism to the bigger political parties. Distribution of resources and attention must be equal to all of them because they need that during and even after the election. For instance, a rep from the GC he also raised concerns about safety. We know that yesterday some guns and ammunition were intercepted at the port by the GRA. He raised that particular issue and asked the police to give them particular assurance on the proliferation of small arms going into the elections and how they plan to deal with all of this moving forward.
Right.
And so those are the concerns the political parties have been raising when they had the attempt. All 12 of them, their representatives, when they had the attempt to address the police on what exactly their concerns are going into the election.
Right. Let me ask. So I'm interested in the response from the police regarding the concerns raised by the political parties, including, for example, the arrest or the seizure of some ammunitions at the Tema Harbor, and the response that the police provided in terms of who owns it and what the police have done so far in terms of, dealing with the persons, whether they brought in the arms illegally. Did the police respond to this matter?
Well,
James, if you can reposition yourself, we are losing you.
Dr. Mani-Kwama, he just finished addressing the president. Speak to us. Dr. Mani-Kwama, thank you for your time. We are live on calls on your news channel. Let's find out from you, when you had the chance to address it, which had before you went to the group, you shied away from raising the concerns with the press conference about the election. Were you able to petition the idea for that when you was
discussion that we is way above an individual.
Sound quality is bad.
So
there's nothing. We can't hear anything. The sound quality. Well, it's difficult to hear Dr. Omane-Boamah because of the quality of the audio there. We'll try and fix that and bring that conversation to you. The police this morning met with representatives of the various political parties as well as, independent presidential aspirants and their representatives. The meeting afforded the two parties to discuss security concerns ahead of the December 7th elections. And the assurance for the police is that they are battle ready to ensure orderliness on election day and to ensure that nothing untoward happens on election day. The political parties themselves have their own concerns that they want the police to address. And I'm sure that in the coming days, the police will be doing such engagements. We just said it was the media to these political parties, and they will be doing so in the hours to follow. When we are able to establish a very clear connection with James, we will bring you that interaction that he is having with the Director of Elections with the NDC, Dr. Edward Omane-Boamah. Now, let's stay with election-related matters because the Electoral Commission of Ghana is disposing of a collection of electoral materials from the Ahafo and Volta region. The destruction is being carried through Benin. The materials included ballot papers used to be that could have been used for the presidential and parliamentary elections. The process is being supervised by representatives from the various political parties, the National Intelligence Bureau, the National Security, the police, and officials of the Electoral Commission. Let me cross over now to my colleague Collins Frimpong, who is also witnessing the destruction of the ballot papers for the Ahafo and the Volta region over some serialization issues that the EC identified somewhere last week. So, Collins, is the destruction done? I understand you are at Sawam.
Elton, at the moment, we are still doing the sorting here at Nsawam Adrodri's Waste Management Center, and the Waste Management Center is at the Park Waste Management Center here at Nsawam Adrodri constituency. The sorting has been ongoing for more than an hour so far, and the last car that brought the material is what they are trying to offload the materials over there. But we've been speaking to the Electoral Commission, or the Deputy Director in charge of risk Research and Evaluations at the Electoral Commission, Fred Tete, who mentioned that not even all the materials or the ballot papers were having serial errors, but as a matter of ensuring transparency, they had to dispose all of them off and burn them. So currently, we don't know the total number of materials that they are burning yet. So after that, there will be a press briefing where the Deputy Director in charge of research will brief the media on everything that they are burning here. On Sunday, the Electoral Commission undertook a similar exercise, but we understand that the exercise that was undertaken on Sunday was only burning of the plates and the scraps that were used to print the materials. But today, what they are burning is the parliamentary and the presidential ballot papers that they are burning here. But there have been some concerns raised by the NDC. For the MPP, they are happy with the transparency so far. But I have here with me the NDC supervisor here, that's Malik Chino here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please, your name again and your position.
My name is Malik Chino. I'm supervisor for NDC agents at the printing house.
So far, are you happy with the process happening here?
We are not happy. It appears that it's a deliberate ploy by AC to frustrate NDC.
How?
Yes, because you see, these problems that occurred happened about 2 weeks ago. The AC brought their staff, their auditors, to go through the whole of this to correct the mistakes. They were there with our agents. All the mistakes were corrected. And at the time that they reported that all the mistakes were corrected, the ballots were now good for us to be used to vote, the AC gave a counter to say that they are not going to allow this to be used, and so the company should dispose it. It's unfortunate. It appears that the EC is working against NDC by this move, because even to start with, the print house that they have engaged to print Volta and Ahafo, the same print house had problems. They had problems with EC in the last elections, so they knew from the word go. They knew that this print house had problems, so they should not have allowed them to print these ballots in the first place. But having given them the contract and having discovered that there were issues with the ballot, what they could have done was to issue an order to stop the printing so that they can take this action they are now taking. But they allowed their own auditors, together with our agents, to do auditing, to go through audit for 2 weeks. Massa. And everybody was now satisfied that these ballots were good. It can be used to vote. That's the time that the EC is now, abrogating the contract and giving it to a different company. Now this company will have to start all over again. Thankfully, Back Press, they have done their part. They have been able to print a half, because that's 6 constituencies. It's not much. But Axe Commercial, they are doing the Volta, printing of the Volta ballot. And Volta is about 18 constituencies, so it's not that easy. So granted that they discovered similar problems that they discovered here, are they going to revoke the contract again? And if they do, what is going to be the fate of Volta region and the 2024 election? What is going to be the fate of it? We are not quite happy about what.
Somebody may be saying that all these things are based on assumptions. We are just assuming based on all these things. There are no evidence.
It is not assumption. We are practically involved. For 33 days now, we are practically involved in the whole process, and we understand every move. And EC should have sought the consent of the parties, okay, together with their staff, before they take this action. So that, because you have engaged your own people, your own auditors, okay, so we feel that it appears that they are deliberately going to doing this to cause psychological problem with our NDC base.
Weren't all these issues addressed during IPAC meeting with the National Executive?
Our leaders had raised issues, even with the printing, at the IPAC meeting, and they promised to address it. I think that informed the reason why the EC brought their own people to look at it to ensure that the right thing was done. But after everybody was satisfied that the right thing was done and the ballots could be used to vote, they then decided to destroy the whole thing. In the first place, the amount of money being used to destroy this thing is a cost to the taxpayer. It's so huge. Less than that, fraction of that could have been used to transport it to the regions for voting.
So now that's the burning is ongoing, or we are hoping that the materials will get burnt, and also make sure that the papers are well printed. What do you suggest the EC should do?
No,
going forward,
there's nothing we can do then to burn it, to observe the burning. So we are making sure that we are going to be here to monitor the burning until ashes. We see ashes. We are not moving away from here.
How about the other printings that are ongoing?
There are other people who are there monitoring the printing process.
And you are happy with that?
No, I think it's okay. So far, so good. We haven't had much issues with some of the print houses.
Thank you. So that's Abdul Malik Chino. He's the supervisor for the NDC here at the Burning Center. We have the MPP supervisors here. Please, what's your name?
My name is George Nkrumah.
Mr. George, Mr. Nkrumah, so far, how do you see the process?
The process is okay. I don't feel anything that was happening, but as you are supervising it to burn it, I think from day one, nothing has happened. So I don't have problem with the process.
There have been concerns raised by the NDC, the other side, who are saying that they suspect foul play in all these because they don't understand why.
Suspecting foul play on this or
they don't understand why it is only voter region and they are Ahafo, that they are having serialization of materials issues. Why not Ashanti region?
If we are saying that, that means those who printed Ashanti are the same company who printed this. You see, if you are saying that why voter but not Ashanti, that means it's the same company that printed Ashanti. But those who printed Ashanti region are different company. They are not the same people printed this one. So if you say that, I don't have anything to say about it. That is his or her mind. Yeah.
So you are happy with everything?
Well, I'm happy with everything.
So that's the NPP supervisor here. Currently, the offloading is done. All the 3 trucks that brought the materials, they are done, and you can see that the materials, the parliamentary and the presidential materials, they've already offloaded them, and we are seeing the trucks there where they are loading the bags into the 3rd truck again. Then in a moment, the management, waste management, the center, and as well as the EC, the political parties, and the national security, everybody will be observing, as well as the media will be observing the burning here. According to the waste management, they have systems in place that is going to ensure that everything gets burnt here. Everything that you are seeing in your shots, everything, all the materials that you are seeing in your shots, everything is going to get burnt. And we see that they are also pouring petrol on it. So in a moment from now, all the ballot papers for Ahafo region, as well as the voter region that contains the parliamentary and the presidential candidates, the ballot papers will be burnt here. All of them, not a single one will be left. Everything will get burnt. So Elton, that's what has been happening here.
So live pictures from Nsawam in the eastern region, where the Electoral Commission is in the process of burning some ballot papers printed for the voter and the Ahafo regions. The EC identified some errors regards to the serialization of the ballots, the reason why it took the decision to dispose of the materials. And that's what you are seeing on your screens now from Nsawam in the eastern region. And already the EC has awarded the contract for the printing of the presidential parliamentary ballot for the Ahafo region and the voter region to another printing house. And the ones that were printed, identified to have some errors on it, are the ones you are seeing, and they're about to set fire on it and then burn it completely. And this is happening live at Nsawam in the eastern region. The EC is clear that this will not in any way affect a timetable for the December 7th elections, because the printing house, Backpress, and the other, they have the capacity to have the Ahafo and the voter regions printed out within days so that they can, ensure that it is taken to the regions respectively. So that is what is happening now. The burning will start soon, and then when it is done, the EC will have all the political parties and the other interest groups present at this ceremony, if you like, to sign and to endorse that indeed the burning has taken place. So we'll take you live there if there's any development on this matter. We're also keeping an eye on the meeting between the political parties and the police regards to security ahead of the election. A lot of things happening now with just 16 days to go for the December 7th presidential and parliamentary election. Everything is being done to ensure an incident-free, credible and transparent polls in December. So let's just stay with James is back, so I can now take you live to the police headquarters where the IGP, that the Inspector General of Police, and the police management team met with the political parties. So James, before we left you, were interacting with the NDC Director of Elections, Dr. Edward Amanebuama. Is he satisfied with the response he got from the IGP on the party's concerns?
Well, Elton, he said they are very much satisfied with the interaction they had with the hierarchy of the police, pointing to the fact that the police have given them enough assurance of safety during the election. The concerns they have, they put them to the police. He will not go into the details of those concerns, but he says that the police have received their consent and promised to work on those. And from all indications they got from this, they assure that police would be of the best performance on the day of election. And that is what they are going home with as a political party, the NDC, going into the election, knowing that police would give them that safety in the election. I was telling you about the IGP's, his statement after the political parties raised their concerns in that earlier meeting. He did two things. One is to commend the political parties. In fact, he asked all the heads of the other various security agencies, the Ghana Immigration Service, the Fire Service, Army, as well as the other security agencies who were present, including leadership of the Electoral Commission, to stand up and give claps to the leadership of the various political parties for maintaining peace and order during the campaign seasons we have witnessed so far. He said no chaos has been recorded by any of the political parties leading to any casualty, death, or anything so far within the period of campaign we have seen so far, and treating them to maintain same or even better standard going to the final days of the election. And so he made all the heads of the security agencies stand up, including his men, to give a clap to the leadership of the political parties on that basis. And then he concluded by re-emphasizing that even in the face of all of this, the police, he said, will not hesitate to implement full force or brute force when the need be on case-by-case basis on situations where there will be chaos at different locations in the country. Even though they will be friendly, interact with the citizens, and in the name of peace, they will not hesitate to implement brute force when the need be to de-escalate situations, to maintain peace and order during and after the elections. And so that was his response to the political parties. From what we've seen here, it looks like all parties are on the same page going into the election. The common denominator has been maintenance of peace and order before, during, and even after the elections. Right. And so both parties seem to agree with the conversation so far.
James, last question before you go. Remember this week, the NDC and the MPP, they've been trading accusations. The NDC singled out a 7 high-ranking officer of the Ghana Armed Forces, and then their claim is that he's in link with the MPP to rig the election in the Ashanti region. I mean, they singled him out, and then they said they were going to, provide evidence to the police for the police to act upon. Now, a day after, the MPP national organizer also singled out a former top-ranking police officer, Nathan Kofi Boakye, and the allegations that he's also working and trading tax that the NDC want to rely on to cause chaos on election day, especially in the Ashanti region. Did these two issues come up?
Well, I mean, that was key for the NPP. Interestingly, I covered those two press briefings of both parties where all of this have been raised. My key question to both of them, both Sammy Gyamfi and Nana B at the time was, do they have any evidence to support all of these allegations? And do they intend to make this available to the police as well as the other security agencies who may be interested in addressing this? And they said they will petition. That is why when Justin Kodia took the podium after registering his displeasure about police conduct in the Asin laws, that was the key issue he raised, the same concern he raised. And the IGP, in his response after that, didn't give a specific response to that as to whether they've also received similar concerns and what exactly, or the indication that they'll be investigating this. But the NDC of Anikuama said he will put that to the police when they go into the behind closed door meeting. And so that was key on the agenda of the two major political parties,
right,
going into that. And so I'm pretty sure, I want to believe that put that to the police, and the police, even outside their concerns, might have been getting some intelligence on some of those things, and they are preparing fully for that. And so, I mean, that's the conversation that has been around that. It was key, and we'll see what the police will be up to in the coming days.
Right, James, thank you so much for this update from the police headquarters. James Abeji, my colleague there, and also happening on the other side of town in the eastern region, precisely in Sawom. The burning is just happening right here for you here on Joy News. And then what they are burning, ballots the EC printed for the voter and the Ahafo regions, the parliamentary and presidential ballots for the voter and the Ahafo region. The EC said they identified errors with the serial numbers on it, and decided that it was not worth using it for the elections on December 7th because it was going to result in rejection of the ballots. And so they decided that it was going to be bent, and that is what is happening now on your screens. The ballot for the Ahafo and the voter regions. The political parties are observing this. And the EC has already awarded the printing to another printing house, Back Press, to undertake the printing for the presidential and parliamentary ballots for the Ahafo and the voter region. So that is what is happening now, bringing finality to this error-ridden ballot papers for the Ahafo and the voter region. My colleague Collins is there. When it's done, the EC wants to make some comments on this matter. I will take you live to the voter region, to the eastern region, in Sawom to be precise, and bring you that very update live for you. So those that is what you're seeing right now is the burning or the disposal of the ballot papers printed but had issued with serial numbers for the Ahafo and the voter regions. The NDC, they raised concerns. They are raising issues of non-consultation on this matter. But, the burning is ongoing. It's paper. And for that reason, I expect that it will be burnt within minutes and turn into dust. And of course, we'll have the very latest for you as and when the EC is ready to address the media. Now, the governing New Patriotic Party is fighting off claims of massive vote buying and abuse of incumbency as captured in the second CODEO pre-election observation statement. According to the findings published by CODEO, both the NDC and the MPP are cited in instances of vote buying with people being given money or valuables to influence their vote. Also, the report said the MPP and the NDC and some independent candidates provided treats such as food and drinks to event attendees during campaign activities. However, reacting to the findings, on Joy X Spaces with my colleague Blazer Soga. Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NPP, Isaac J. Hyde, explained that cultural values and empathy are cogent grounds for giving treat to voters and not meant to induce them to vote a certain way.
They're only accounting to the Ghanaian people what they've used the 8 years for. And so the DRIP project, which was coming into town, in one way, if you see people championing and running around and celebrating it, it's because, yes, the NPP has shown that indeed, given the mandate, we've been able to, solve the problem that has been a challenge for them. And if they are celebrating and thanking the government, I think that is not out of place.
If you take a look at what the report is saying, the NPP appears to be giving more in terms of transportation and food to people who are attending your rallies. Why is this the case?
At least, the good thing is that this is not money. Comparatively, we have incidences like you saw in the Jura somewhere last year during the NDC parliamentary primaries and presidential primaries, where vote buying was fully in the full glare of the public. At some places like Trifuati Mokwa, gas cooker and other materials were being shared.
You don't feel that food and water could influence voter choice?
By our Ghanaian nature, we are a very hospitable society. It's part of our culture to offer people some goodwill in terms of food and water. And so if somebody goes to a campaign, and I can bet for all the campaign tours I've done, either with the flag bearer or the running mate or even within the constituencies, I've never seen an instance where people have formed queue that they are going to line up because as part of the processes, once the campaign is done or once the rally is done, they are going to be offered food.
Well, the National Democratic Congress also said, despite disagreeing with Cordeo, that it engages in vote buying. It is warning that the abuse of incumbency by the NPP with the District Road Improvement Program, DRIP F moving equipment, could spark electoral violence. Clem Kotoko is Deputy National Organizer of the NDC.
No, I'm not sure I'm calling the NPP out, but I'm just saying that there's an iota of truism in that particular one. Reason being that while you are treating people, for instance, people have moved from one point to the other in order to partake in maybe your Congress or an electoral process. There's a need for you to feel the concern, to feel for them and want to give out some pastries, some drinks, etc., while they are waiting to take their turn to do whatever. But somebody may also classify that as vote buying, which may not necessarily be the case. It, however, behoves on us as citizens to put in measures that would ensure that political parties adhere strictly to certain fundamental rules that bars the individual delegates or candidates from doing such things. It therefore means that responsibility must be shifted to the political parties to be fully responsible for those treats, for the TNT, for the feeding, accommodation of these people. So once it is established and political parties would adhere to it, it means they will become responsible for that, and the delegates will not be burdened to want to do that to please the the voter in order to gain their favor. I think the atmosphere is not entirely that serene as Cordeo wants us to believe. We'll be acting ostriches if we want to say so. There are some undercurrents about the misbehavior and the conduct, for instance, of the government, which is abusing the incumbency we're talking about. If, for instance, you are seeing that DRIP equipment, which my tax is used to pay, to buy, is being used to tar my road or to clear my road, and the opposition or the government in power is putting their parliamentary candidate's picture on it. Pardon my language, I do not intend to say so, but everybody may be justified in one way to cause any mayhem or cause any rancor related to that because you feel you are being disadvantaged, and that is not a good atmosphere.
So let's stay a little longer with the NDC. The running mates, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has criticized the NPP for prioritizing development in areas perceived as their stronghold, speaking during a courtesy call on the Wala Overlord Na Fusenu Pelpio. Professor Opoku-Agyeman said the NDC ensures equal development across the country, regardless of voting patterns. She noted that some parliamentarians outside the NPP have been sidelined in development projects, but assured that the NDC will not back down from pursuing the people's agenda. Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman is touring the Upper West region, where Rafiq Salam reports.
Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman was accompanied on the tour by some stalwarts of the party, including former Health Minister Alex Sebefia. The NDC running mate then rolled out of the Wa Airport and headed to the Warner's Palace, where she paid a courtesy call on the overlord of the Wada traditional area, Naf Hussein Sedi Pilipo IV. Spokesperson of the Wada overlord, Jimpen Nakadir Ibrahim, recalled some few requests that they penciled for John Dramani Mahama on his recent visit to the palace.
To his surprise, just 2 weeks ago, he learned that a number of districts and municipalities in the country had benefited or are to benefit from the elevations to different statuses, much to the neglect of the one municipality. And His Majesty says that a future NDC government should consider doing this for us as one of the first things that you will do, even if on the 8th of January 2025, he wakes up to the news that the one municipality is elevated to the metropolitan status.
Coupled with the NDC's track record and good policies on their manifesto, the party will return to power.
And that is that unlike the NDC, that takes care of everybody, our opponents don't necessarily do so. They have already told us about people who don't vote for them and for which reason they don't pay attention to them. So what this means is that our PCs have suffered for 8 years. It means that whatever they could have done has been denied them because they voted for the NDC. This will not stop any of them or any of us from voting for a government that brings interventions such as the road you have requested for everybody's benefit.
Some supporters of the NDC asserted that due to the failed promises of the MPP, coupled with the NDC's track record and good policies on their manifesto, the party will return to power.
You see, the current hardship in the country is mouth-watering. Things prices are skyrocketing, so the good people of Upper West are very convinced that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama with the MP of West Central and the 11 constituency, we are going to win them hands down.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam.
Welcome back from that rather long break. Now, the leading member of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Akomeah, has called for a thorough investigation into allegations that Lamens Africa Limited supplied unwholesome rice to senior high schools, posing a risk to students' health. Nana Akomeah, who also serves as deputy campaign manager for the Bawumia presidential campaign, expressed concern over the silence of the Food and Drugs Authority, the importer, and the Education Ministry. Meanwhile, the Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, has been offering explanation justifying why the FDA granted Lamens' request for extension of expiring days. This is Joseph Yao Bene, the Director of Legal at the FDA, speaking to my colleague Emi Fapao on the Midday News on Joy FM.
Clarify this point. As an institution, as a regulator, with international repute, we would not do anything to jeopardize the health and safety of anybody in this country. Like I said, we had this information, so FDA went in with the police and realized that in a certain facility, unlicensed and unknown to the FDA, someone was rebagging rice. The first thing to do was to stop that process. So what we did was, like the information that was just put out, we sanctioned them on 3 points. 1, the facility is not licensed for rebagging of rice. 2, FDA has not given permission for that activity to be conducted. And thirdly, that process was not supervised. So FDA says that based on this, the date on the rice as was seen on that day shows that the best before date had expired. So what do? The first action to take is that we recommend that the product should be safely disposed of.
And did that happen?
Come again?
Did that happen?
If you allow me to continue, I'm saying that was the first recommendation that was made. That, look, this is the best before date had expired, so the first recommendation was that the product should be safely disposed of. Mm-hmm. But then, what we need to explain to everybody is that when you see a best before date on food, what does it mean? When you see an expiry date on a product, what does it mean? There are two different things. They mean two different things. Expired products means that the product safety cannot be guaranteed after that date. Best before date says that the product safety is not in doubt, but the qualities of the product can be.
But there's a duration. But there's a duration for that. It doesn't go beyond now. They were asking for an extension of up to a year, and they got an extension up to April.
Are you ready to allow the people of this country to listen to FDA?
But we need to ask questions, sir. We don't have the whole time.
So allow me to explain the issues. I've given you 2 dates. I'm saying that expiry dates means that the product safety is no longer guaranteed after that date.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a best before date, there are 2 issues. The issue of safety is not said that it is no longer safe after that. What is not good at that time is whether the qualities of the product can still be allowed. Quality in terms of taste, color, texture, etc. That is the reason why when the producer applied for the extension of the best before date, it has to be looked at. So 3 things were done. The laboratories that were accredited were allowed to do this test. One in India, one in Ghana, Center for Scientific Research, the CSIR, the Food Research did it, and FDA did a confirmatory test to ensure that the qualities of that product are still intact and can be. It is on the basis of that. The first reaction, I'm saying that when FDA, when the date had passed, so the first step you have to take to protect that product is recommend that it should be safely disposed of. But again, when the producer applied for the extension, which is internationally accepted, we looked at the qualities of the product. And so those 3 laboratory tests tell us that the product's qualities can still be used. The product can be used based on the qualities that have been tested in the 3 laboratories. And based on that, the best before date was extended to April, not to December as the manufacturer requested.
By how many months? By how many months did they extend it?
From December to April. But not to the December 2024 when the producer requested for.
And it was still safe. And it was still safe.
After December 2024, you need to produce further evidence on that. We can, based on the report that we had from the 3 labs, can extend the product's best before date to April. And that is exactly what FDA did.
And it was still safe in terms of the taste, the color, and quality that you talk about?
It was still safe. The issue at stake was the quality.
Okay.
Now, the 3 laboratories confirmed the quality of the rice at that point. And that is why FDA extended it to April. I'm waiting further information from the manufacturer if we still need to extend it to December 2024.
Well,
that is what FDA did.
I would want to find out, let's reconcile at what point this is a company that was caught rebagging on your blind side. You came in and your own recommendation said you had to dispose of the same products. You sanctioned them 100,000. They did not even finish paying. There were arrests. People were released. How do we reconcile all this? Then at some point there was now an application for an extension of the shelf life of the same products.
Amifa, have you been listening to me?
I've been listening to you, Mr. Benny.
The first time FDA got onto this product, the best before date, that was in December, and the best before date was that December 2023. And we are saying that they were rebagging the product without FDA's approval to do that.
Is that not criminal? Is that not criminal?
That is why they were sanctioned. That is why they were sanctioned to pay the administrative fine. It is the rebagging without FDA's approval. That is the reason why they were sanctioned.
And they were sanctioned, yet you still gave them that privilege of actually testing the rice and extending the shelf life. Is the concern?
You are not following this.
Oh, Mr. Benny.
They were sanctioned because at the point when FDA got onto the product, the best before date was, and they applied for extension, which is allowed.
Do you agree? Do you agree? What would you say to people who say that it appears that Lamens was giving a special treatment? Not everybody will get this kind of treatment.
I mean, which one considers special treatment?
This is a company that was fined, yet they were giving these privileges.
Amifa, they were fined for what? Fined for rebagging without permission, fined for rebagging in an unlicensed premises, fined for rebagging without FDA supervision. It has nothing to do with the rice at that point. Please. They applied for extension of the best before date, and the processes, we took them through the processes. And once they qualified to have the date extended, we did that. There are 2 different issues. They were doing something at a facility that is not licensed. They were doing something that was not being supervised by FDA. They were doing something that FDA has not approved. When they applied for the extension, we took them through the process. And when we were satisfied, based on international best practices, we gave them the extension up to April. We did not agree to the December extension because we requested for further information.
Well, that's the explanation from the Food and Drugs Authority, the Director of Legal and Corporate Affairs, Joseph Yao Bennett. We're trying to get a reaction from Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, the Member of Parliament for North Tom, because he first raised this issue and he demanded certain answers. We'll see if we can get him to share his perspective on the FDA official reaction to this matter. But let's talk about health. A mother's tears, a family fight, and a stranger's kindness. This is the story of a 10-year-old Lisa Lai, diagnosed with cancer of the blood. Her family sold everything to save her, but still fell short. So there's help in the offing as the Chief Executive Officer of Engineers and Planners and Jasa Cements, Ibrahim Mahama, has stepped in to cover the over $100,000 bone marrow transplant in South Africa. Emmanuel Jibeno has more in the following report.
In this quiet hospital corridor, Lisa's family clings to her smile on her phone screen. It is the only thread keeping them connected to the 10-year-old who once filled their home with laughter. Now, she fights for her life, battling stage 4 leukemia.
Lisa went for career day at school, and then my mother was called by the school authorities that Lisa was complaining of body pains. And so on 1st November 2024, that's 3 weeks ago, she was taken to the hospital for treatment for common cold or maybe malaria. We were suspecting malaria because of the symptoms she was exhibiting.
Just weeks ago, Lisa was all bubbly in school. She loves her books, friends, and dreams of becoming a pediatrician. But on October 31, her world changed. A headache and cold spiraled into a diagnosis no family is ever prepared to hear.
I was devastated when the news was broken to me that Lisa has been diagnosed with stage 4 leukemia, which happens to be the cancer of the blood and bone marrow.
Her survival now depends on urgent treatment in South Africa, costing over $100,000. A sum her family simply could not afford.
I had started selling my assets and it wasn't getting anywhere. I have sold.
All right, very sad story, but there's relief there. So let's hope that the money is able to put a smile back on the face of the little girl and her mom. But let me bring in Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, the Member of Parliament for Northton, who has been on this matter since day one, the expired rice, allegedly, if you like. And Honorable Okudzeto-Ablakwa, it's good to have you here on the pulse. Good afternoon, sir. Good
afternoon, Elton. Thank you for having me.
Great. So you've heard the FDA officially. They've responded to this matter. And a bit of it, they say that in a response to an application from the importer, that's Laments, FDA approved an extension of the best before date for Moshosho rice from December 20 last year to April 30, 2024. This decision aligns with internationally accepted best practices and was informed by thorough analysis conducted by reputable laboratories in India and Ghana, including the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research. Notably, the FDA declined the producer's request to extend the best before date to December 2024 as the available data, particularly the absence of the required stability data, did not support the extension. On the matter of the 100,000, it was for the fact that the company Laments breaches rebagging the rice without FDA approval, conducting rebagging operation in an unlicensed facility, and failing to ensure FDA supervision during the rebagging process. What will be your response to this FDA position on this matter?
The FDA response really portrays an institution which has to be investigated and whose top official must be fired immediately. The FDA, in this response, is telling us that after this company has engaged in this litany of infractions, of illegalities, going to rebag rice, which had long gone beyond its best before date, without the authorization of the FDA, without the supervision of the FDA, and in an unlicensed facility. The National Buffer Stock Company in Kumasi was not licensed by the time they were engaging in this criminality.
Right.
And indeed, as we speak, the National Buffer Company has failed with impunity to register storage facility. And yet, this is the company that is responsible for feeding our children in senior high schools. Now, after this multiple violations of the Public Health Act, Act 851 and LI 1541, remember that they were rebagging the rice from the Moshosho made in India best before December 2023 packaging to a new packaging which was deceptive, which was fraudulent. ECOWAS bags, then they said made in Ghana, and then they did not indicate the expiry date. This is a company whose directors should immediately have been prosecuted. And yet, the FDA is telling us today that after they caught these guys in the act, and remember that according to the police report which I have published, Eli Dogbe and Mr. Simon Ejay, who is a director of Lament, a company which is notorious, because if you read the 2021 Auditor General's report, they were indicted for distributing unwholesome food.
Right.
This company should have been blacklisted as far back as 2021. The FDA, in its latest response, is telling us that after all criminal conduct, they entertained applications from Laments, treated them with kid gloves, only fined them 100,000, which was even a reduction from the original 150,000. They refused to dispose of the 22,000 bags of rice, which was their original position, because I have published their internal memo of 29th December 2023.
Right.
The FDA knew the right thing to do. One, they said they will move in to stop the rebagging. Two, they will dispose of the rice. And three, they will fine the company 150,000 cedis. All of this was not done. This company was now asked to negotiate with the FDA to make an application, and then the FDA is now telling us that we can trust the rice, that it was wholesome. Meanwhile, I have the 6th February test results from the same FDA, which shows that this rice had high insect infestation and high fat acidity. So at what point did the FDA change its own test results to declare this rice wholesome? Look, this is a matter that must be presented before an independent commission of inquiry. I am there in my mind that the FDA is complicit. The Buffer Stock Company is complicit. The Food Station Secretariat is complicit. Because of the orders from above, this company has been allowed to get away with murder, literally and figuratively. But the end of this matter, I am so appalled, I'm disgusted, I'm disappointed at the FDA. Now, the FDA should be telling us that they gave Lament up to a new list of that they could extend the expiry to April 30th this year.
Right.
Why is it that that was not clearly spelled out on the new bags? Why was that not spelled out? Why did they allow the company to change the origin of the rice from India to Ghana? Why is it that the FDA did not make sure that heads of our various secondary schools were informed that the so-called new expiry date is April 2024? As we speak, I have evidence from some of the schools that continue to serve this rice in June, in July, in August. Can you imagine?
Even though the FDA themselves say that the approval they gave was to last for just 4 months.
Exactly.
And now we are in December.
Exactly. Up to 30th April. Up to 30th. And you see, when you don't have this new so-called expiry date clearly put down on the new packaging, how do you expect the matrons to know? How do you expect the headmasters, the headmistresses to know? So you blame them if in May, in June, in July, in August, in September, they continue to serve this 22,000 bags of rice. I mean, how reckless, how heartless, how insensitive, and irresponsible.
There appears to be connections issue to Honorable Kojetua Ablakwa. I wanted to find out if, in view of all that is happening, the FDA appears to be only interested in explaining why it fined the importer Lamens 100,000 Ghana cedis and the circumstances that culminated in the... Yeah, Honorable, I can hear you. The FDA appears to be only interested in responding to why it extended the best before date and why it fined Lamens the 100,000 Ghana. The other outstanding question, including the wholesomeness of the product, that's the rice, has not been answered. The buffer stock appears to be asserting the fact that Lamens has done no wrong. Nana Komia this morning agreed to an independent body to investigate matters. So where do we go from here?
Where we go from here is to have the president establishing an independent commission of inquiry into this matter. If the president fails, and clearly when you listen to the chief of staff, you can tell that this Lamens company is so connected to the very top. The chief of staff is dismissing these severe, grave, violations of the Public Health Act, which risks the lives of millions of school children, saying that it's mere propaganda. So you can tell that the presidency is not going to act. So Parliament comes in, and I can confirm to you that we have discussed this at the level of leadership of our caucus and the committees of education, of health, and the assurances committee, which I chair, is going to commence investigating this matter. I assure you that as a party, you have heard our flag bearer. When the NDC wins the next election, all those who should have been prosecuted, the directors of NAPCO, all those who have engaged in this criminality and jeopardized the health of our children, will be made to face the full rigors of the law. We cannot, the height of recklessness, the height of insensitivity, just because some few unscrupulous elements want to make money. Because you want to make your money, you don't care about the health of millions of our children. Look, we should even be calling for an immediate screening, a medical screening of all students in senior high school. Only God knows what they are going through. Look, when we showed the 6 February FDA results to medical doctors, they tell us that, look, this is so dangerous, nobody should be fed with food. Look, there are clear medical grounds to even conclude that this can lead to liver cancer, according to medical doctors. This food is so dangerous that you couldn't even feed animals with them. Talk to medical doctors. Just share the original FDA 6 February test results, the examination certificate, with your own medical doctor. Just talk to them. Joy FM, you do that. Talk to them, and you will get you hear what the doctors will tell you. So this is such a serious matter, and it is the Ministry of Education is passing the back. When the FDA preliminary investigative report shows that as far back as January, they informed the Ministry of Education about this. In Team Football, the Deputy Minister of Education was informed about this. They didn't take steps to stop the distribution of this rice to our schools.
Right, it looks like, the connection again, but we'll leave it here because of connection issues, and then this is not, you haven't heard the last of this matter yet. That's Samuel Kojetua Ablakwa, the Member of Parliament for North Town. You heard the FDA Director of Legal and Corporate Affairs early on, and of course the FDA's official, communication to this matter. I read part to you, and the FDA have been explaining why it imposed that fine on the company Lamens and why it extended the best before date from December 2023 to April 2024. Now, according to Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, the food is still being distributed to the schools, even though the FDA gave the company a 4-month period to do so. It's unclear what really is happening. We'll take a short break and return and tell you what is happening tomorrow on the campus of the University of Media, Arts and Communication, UNIMAG GIG. You're welcome back. And of course, tomorrow, the University of Media, Arts and Communication, UNIMAG GIG, will host a critical discussion on the theme, the election dividend, threats to democracy and the role of communication and reinventing civic responsibility. The dialogue seeks to enhance public understanding of the electoral process, confront emerging threats to democratic principles, and highlight the role of communication in nurturing responsible citizenship. Professor H.A.C. Kanku is a lecturer there and joins me in the studio as we build up to that webinar tomorrow. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you, Elton.
Yes, so what really is this about?
So this is the university's contribution to the conversation as we head towards the election. Universities are supposed to be centers to produce knowledge,
right?
To lead intellectual discussions and to contribute to public education ahead of such a major national event. So it's to discuss the role of communication in the media and also civic responsibility and any threats to democracy.
So this is a webinar?
Yes, it is. It is. We have several experts, who would come and who come to speak to us on this. Very, very well qualified and knowledgeable people. We have Dr. John Osei Kwapong, who is the project manager for the Democracy Project.
Right.
An astute democracy advocate. We also have Dr. Laurentia Japong. She's with the Department of Communication. She's a senior lecturer. She's also the director of international affairs, but also an expert when it comes to gender in the media and political communication.
Right.
Because we'll be talking about the representation of women and gender in the media. And then we have Dr. Paul Hezwa, who is also a lecturer at the Faculty of Journalism and Media Studies, and his area of expertise is media and politics and society. And finally, we do have your own man, Mr. Erastus Donko from your organization, Multimedia, an astute journalist to contribute to the discussion.
So everything centers around communication?
Yes, that is the major fulcrum. The University of Media, Arts and Communication, that is our mandate. That is one of our areas of operation, training journalists, training the future professionals in journalism, in media, in communication, but as related to other fields such as politics, to make sure that we have a very professional and substantive democratic system.
So for communication, why has it become so important for you to dedicate this whole webinar to it?
Yeah, thank you very much. Communication is the fulcrum of national development because it is so key and so essential to all aspects of our national development, health, economics, agriculture, but also politics and governance, but particularly elections, because it is the tool through which the business of democracy and politics takes place. The discussions people have, the campaigns that take place, all happen through a communication space or communication medium. Even citizens have social media and other platforms through which we communicate, we talk to each other. And so it's important that the communication space is a very intelligent one. It's a very substantive one in terms of the level of knowledge that is produced, in terms of the civility within which this takes place, in terms of even the responsibility of the media to provide accurate, fair, and objective information so that people can make their decisions during elections. This is very, very critical in sustaining democracies.
Yeah, this week, for example, I think 2 days ago, I spoke to Dr. Amachi Watike University and I asked him, with just few days, today was 16 days to go for the election. I mean, what must the parties, what should be their focus? And it was clear that communication at this stage is key. the message you are selling out, the clarity of thought, and how you are able to communicate that message without any ambiguity. But this week we've heard accusations, very wild accusations and counter accusations from both parties. Are they getting it right? If communication is really what is required now, with 16 days to the elections. You have been watching and listening. Are they really getting it right?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, each political party has a strategy. Yes, communication is key for several reasons I've outlined. But one of it is that getting to the end of the election, what becomes really essential is getting the numbers out, getting the vote out there, people out there to vote for you, get out of the vote. I mean, efforts have to be increased. And one of the ways you can get, because at the end of the day, the electoral outcome is about numbers and who gets ahead and who doesn't. And you want to persuade people to go out there and to vote for you. So those efforts should be geared towards that. There are people who have probably made up their minds, but there are some undecided, there might be some independents, there might be some people who might be sitting on the fence, and there might be some people who might not be inspired or energized enough to go out there to vote. What communication does is that it appeals to the sentiments of these people. Maybe there might be something that appeals to them and they might get out there and go vote in your favor. So one day is a long time in politics. Right. Things can happen, people's minds can change. And so how they communicate, especially what we call the end game, or your final argument, or yes, your final argument, the end game, or your closing argument. That's the word I was looking for. Your closing argument, to either firm up the things that you've been saying, to re-emphasize, or for people who may not have made up their minds, you want to make sure that you are persuading them. So these final, or those who have made up their minds, you want to make sure that
they don't change it.
Exactly. So this closing argument is very important, and communication helps to do that job for them.
So this webinar, for example, is key that people who are in the business of communicating the message of the party, this is crucial for them.
Well, it is, but you know, as you see, it's about democracy and governance, but it's also about civic responsibility and citizens, and definitely for the political parties as well, because we'll be talking about political communication, how to communicate, but also from a more public interest perspective. You know, Elton, a democracy cannot survive without the active participation of its citizens.
Right.
And so civic responsibility is extremely important for people to get out there to vote, for people to commit themselves to the voting process, for us to even discuss and to deliberate on the issues that we care about, and to hold the government or the political parties accountable. Communication is the tool through which these things are done. And so it's a multifaceted webinar that hopes to address all these things from very diverse perspectives, so that we make sure that we are having the kind of democracy that would contribute to our growth and our progress, and also to the enhancement of our political system and culture.
So who should tune in? Or who should join the webinar?
Yes, thank you. I would encourage anybody and everyone at all to join. This is about the nation that we build. I know my theory about elections and campaigns is that it is always one more step to take stock of where our country is one more step to decide, one more opportunity to decide what is important for us, another opportunity to enhance our democracy, that we communicate in a way that builds but does not divide. We communicate in a way that and highlights our values, or the values that are important to us.
Right.
And so citizens, the general public is invited to join, but also people, media, other stakeholders, civil society, the media, and people who are within the political space as well, very much welcome to join.
So, Prof, what time and the address so that people can join?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. So the time for this event is at 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's online. The meeting ID is 874-680-18179. The passcode is 556822. And once you get onto the social media page or the website of the university, there'll be links there that you can click.
Or if you can go over the address again. So that,
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. The meeting ID is 8746808179. And then the passcode is 556822.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for supporting this project. I mean, multimedia has been very critical to our democratic space, doing a lot of a great job, in covering elections. And so we appreciate the support and look forward to a very informed and substantive discussion.
Rapov, thank you so much for coming through. Yeah. So the time is tomorrow, 10 a.m. Governance, communication, democracy, civic responsibility. That's a webinar happening tomorrow. And the time is 10 a.m. We'll put the address again on our screens for those who want to join. But it's open to everybody. I mean, you want to educate yourself and to understand what really is going on. That will be the platform to do so tomorrow at 10 a.m. Well, folks, that will be it for today's Thursday edition of the Pulse. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope is profitable. My name is Elton Robbie. Have a good evening and take care.